Welcome to Sober. Welcome to Sober Patrol. This is Joshua Hunt. He is from Warren, Ohio. I'm coming at you live at Sober Patrol, Sober Army podcast in Ravenna, Ohio. Um, how are you doing, Josh?
Hey, Kat, how's it going?
Good. I just wanted to let everybody know that you inspired me to do this podcast. You were talking about it at a meeting one night, and I said, why don't we just get everybody in unity to start doing things like this to help each other out, stay accountable, to stay active in their communities. And this is one way to do it, not just in your community, but also in unity all over the world. And this is a struggle that is real all over everywhere, every day. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. And so, it's funny. We're actually like from the same area. We're from
Yeah.
the Youngstown, Warren area,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, shout out to everybody in Warren. I mean, the recovery
Yes.
community here in Warren is so strong.
It
There's
is.
always so many events going on. Um, just the support that we have here, it isn't like anywhere else. And I've tried to get sober in a few different places.
Right.
But there's something I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because I live here and I got sober here, but it
No, I
really
don't
does.
think you. I'm from Texas, but I've never had to be in like a program or anything, before I came to Ohio. So I mean, but you're right. Like the community is very strong here. It's very loving. It's the fellowship of brotherhood and sisterhood is amazing.
It is. It really is. And thank you to everybody, and you know who you are. That has helped me to get where I'm at today. I for sure couldn't do it without any of you. So
Absolutely,
thank
me
you.
neither. All my
And you
brothers
too,
and
Kat. I
yeah.
think it's amazing what you're doing with this podcast and
Thank you.
helping get people connected. You know what I mean, and
Yes.
together. I really admire everything that you're doing. Honestly,
Thank
I
you. I
think
just
it's really
wanted
cool.
to I see so many people, they have like groups or pages and they're like, no, it's my page or I'm a member of this page. No, why don't we connect together and everyone connect together in unity and fight this thing? It's a battle. I mean, I want to create an army, not I, but we create an army of people coming together, banding together and standing up and fighting this thing. I'm sick of I'm, I'm sick of watching people die. I'm sick of you know, there's people that don't have quality of life anymore. It's sad. And we know how to get through it, and we can help other people get
That's right.
through it. So, what programs do you like, that work for you? What things do you do actively to stay sober?
So I do work a 12-step program. I work the program of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Great.
I mean, truthfully and honestly, like I'm one of those equal opportunity alcoholics. I'll really do anything to get outside of myself. It just so happens that the people that I was surrounded by at the time, the people who kind of circled up the wagons around me
Right.
and helped me get connected, they happen to be working the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Plus, when
Right.
I read the big book, I really related with the things that were written on that page, and so that's what really started to get me connected to this
Right.
recovery community here.
So like I was what they call a dry sober for 11 months, like, and then I had a relapse. And it honestly, I wasn't working the program. I was a dry sober. I wasn't working the steps. I didn't have a sponsor. I was sitting with dudes and, playing spades, not doing anything that I was supposed to be doing. And now I carry myself as a woman of stature. And I work the program. I have a sponsor. I'm co-sponsoring, and the program works if you work it, and it's worked. Like if I can go and chase drugs, which was an all day, everyday thing, I can chase my recovery thing. But I have to have God instilled in my life, my higher power. That's what gets me through each and every day.
Right.
How do you feel on the higher power?
Um, you know, I for me personally, uh, I feel like, just like it says in the book, deep down inside every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God.
Right.
And that's no different from me. I think looking back on my life, there were several times where I can definitely recognize that higher power being in my life. Um, but life kind of just gets in the way, and things happen, and
Yeah.
I don't know. By the end of it, I mean, I had a whole lot of resentments. I heard an analogy given one time, and it was given about the wind. And let me ask
Okay.
you, Karen, do you believe in the wind?
I believe in the wind. I named my daughter after the wind. Her name is Mariah. So obviously I'm from Texas where the wind blows and tumbleweeds are.
Right.
So yeah.
But you can't necessarily see the wind in and
Right.
itself, right?
Okay, it's a
Um,
good analogy.
but you can certainly see the effects that it has on things around it, right?
Right.
And you can certainly feel it too when it
You can
blows
feel it.
across you, right?
I like that.
And that's kind of what my idea of a higher power is that undoubtedly, uh, not only can I see the effects that it's had in my own life, you know what I mean, but I can see the effects that it's had in all the lives of the people that are around me. And I can feel that. I can feel that connection when it's strong and it's there. And I can also feel when I'm
Right.
a little bit disconnected too, and I can tell the difference.
Absolutely.
I don't
Um,
know. I mean, how do you put that in a box? I mean, if that power is small enough to put in a box, then it certainly isn't big enough to help me with me and my problems, and that's for
right.
sure. You
How are
know.
you doing in your recovery? Are you doing amazing? I mean, when I see you, it seems like you're doing really good in your life. I mean,
I,
you're
I
doing a
I
lot
really
better.
try to stay the best that I can in each 24-hour period, and that's super
Right.
important for me. So I definitely can't stay sober on the things that I did yesterday, and I definitely
Absolutely not.
can't stay sober on the things that I wish and that I want for me in the future. What it
Right.
really boils down to for me is what I'm doing in this 24-hour period.
Right.
And that really starts when I first wake up. When I first wake up and I do my prayers and my meditation, and I start reaching out to my support group, I start connecting, I start putting on that armor for the day so that I could go
Yeah.
out, and do what I have to do. So some days are better than others.
Right.
Some days are really good. A lot of days are really good. Some days are okay. You know what I mean? And that's all right too. But those days that are kind of just okay are definitely getting fewer and farther in between than they were in the beginning of this deal. Life
So
is life is pretty good today.
so we have like bad moments, not bad complete bad days. To me, that's for me. I'm gonna speak for myself. But I have bad moments now, and I've learned how to deal with it and in a humble way. Like I'm more humble than I've ever been in my life, and that is I feel serenity, peace, love for others. They say you gotta give it away to keep it, and I do that, and that's what we're doing here right now. Is because I want to hear the stories, and by you telling your story, it helps you out, and maybe someone out there right now listening to your story, it could be a vital thing to them. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going through that. I'm going through this. Man, I can relate to that. Just and not just that. That doing something like this makes people feel good, and it's a different approach, you know, to doing this. So, well, with all
No,
of that, oh, go ahead.
well, what just one of the things, and you kind of touched on it a little yourself. When I'm having those bad moments, as you say, I try to remind myself that they are only bad moments, and
Right,
and I've made it through 100% of the ones that I've faced so far. And that kind
that's
of gives
right.
me a little bit of strength and courage. You know what I mean? To know that this particular moment isn't going to be, you know, this
Right,
big earth shattering event that's going to change my life. It's just a moment. These are just temporary emotions. I have tools today that I could use to work through these things, and it's going to be all right.
Absolutely. And I do believe in God. I believe fully in God, and I believe that He's still writing my story. But I think that all of the things that I have been through, I was supposed to go through, and that I'm supposed to be right here, right now, at this very moment, and with whoever's listening and you, and it's not a coincidence, and that it is what it is, and that we go through those things so that maybe we can help other people go through the things that they're going through. I never thought I would have a sisterhood or a brotherhood like I have right now. So much love. I mean, there's so much love. And there's also the ones that don't understand still. And there's also the ones that are egotistical, but they still, we all are in that relatable world where we're all together and we can relate. Um, so are you ready to tell me a little bit about your story?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
Well, let's get on that.
Okay,
I'm gonna get all comfortable here.
that's right.
And having fun. Like this is for. I want you to have fun.
This is a
Obviously
lot.
part of
This is a
your
lot of fun.
your party, but
I
part of
am
your
having
story is
a lot of fun.
probably not fun. A lot of people are like, "Well, you tell your story, you have to relive it over and over." But I think that it gives you courage each time that you tell your story. You get more courage, you get it more out. You know, so I think it's fun, and we're gonna have fun. And maybe your
Yeah.
story isn't fun, but you know what I
So the first thing that I'd like to say, and this is the absolute truth for me, Kat. I just want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to
absolutely,
share.
absolutely.
For
I'm
the
so
life that
grateful.
I've been through, and to be able to be here tonight and to share my experience, in
Thank
hopes
you.
that it helps somebody else. Honestly and truly is one of the greatest privileges that I've ever had. So thank you
Oh,
so much.
thank you,
Thank you
dude.
for
That's gonna
giving me
make
this
me cry.
opportunity. Um,
I still wear these feelings right here. I mean, I have such a love for people that you know, yeah. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
you're very welcome. So for those who don't know me, my name is Josh, and I am an alcoholic of the hopeless variety. What I mean by that is when I put any kind of substance in my body whatsoever, it triggers this reaction in me, and I absolutely cannot stop. Um, Obviously, my life wasn't always like that. Even though alcoholism does run pretty rampant on both sides of my family, my grandparents on both sides, my mother, my father. In fact, my very first stop from the hospital was actually at a bar. And I don't mean it like that. My grandpa, he was a war veteran, so he was a part of the American Legion, and that's just where they were at when I came home from the hospital. And so, nonetheless, my very first stop home from the hospital was to the American Legion on the south side of Youngstown. Um, but life was actually pretty good in the beginning. For the first couple years, we lived with my grandparents, and my grandpa was one of my best friends ever. I can remember sitting in the middle of the living room floor with him. He would show me card games, and be having a good time there. There was a big tree that was out in our front yard, and I can remember going out there and him reading me stories. And fun fact about me: when I was little, my favorite drink in the whole entire world was chocolate milk. And if you weren't aware of this, especially when you're young, chocolate milk tastes especially good in a bottle. And I swear it was like I was 3 and 4 years old, and my mom's trying her best to get me broken off of this bottle. And my grandpa's my best friend. I sleep in the bedroom with him, and I can remember he'd be out there and he'd be heating me up a chocolate milk bottle on the stove, and he'd be coming back to the bedroom, and he'd tuck that chocolate milk bottle into his robe, and he'd be walking down the hallway, and my mom would spot him, and she'd be like, "What do you got in your robe there?" And he'd say, "Nothing, leave that boy alone." And honestly, like, those are some of the fondest memories
Okay.
that I had from my childhood was the time that I spent there and with him, Um, but honestly, like any kind of normal life kind of stopped there for the most part. And most of that had to do with me and what was going on inside of me. Because from almost as early as I could remember, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate with this, is that I have the uncanny ability to feel completely alone even when I'm in a room full of people. There's just something about me, like I just have this hole in me and I have like this disconnect with life itself. And the first time that I really noticed that was when I was in school. Because I would go to school and I would see all of you guys, and you seem to be able to form friendships and bonds with one another. You seem to be able to get along with each other, and it seemed effortless for you. And for me, like when I seen that, and when I try to make friends or talk to other people, I always just felt so awkward and alone and separate from everybody. And that's just what I remember from school. And I tried a lot of different things. I'm one of those chameleons, right? That I could try to fit in any situation.
Me too.
Um, and so one of the outlets that I had is I ended up playing football for a lot of years, all throughout school and in high school. Um, but I was one of those weird stoner types that also played football and happened to get good grades for a while. And I don't know, but even though like I tried all these different ways of connecting with all these different social groups, like I still just had that separateness about me. I didn't really feel like I fit or belong anywhere. And I think I was about 11 years old. A buddy of mine, him and we decided to skip school that day. And we went over to one of the neighborhood houses, and it was an older couple that lived there. And they had some grandchildren that used to come over from time to time out of town. So we had been in there playing a few times or whatever. We knew there was a liquor cabinet in the house. And so we skipped school one day, and I decided to go in the house, and I went in there and I went up to the liquor cabinet, and I got a bottle of vodka and a bottle of tequila.
Ooh.
And him and we took those two bottles back to his trailer, and his mom used to keep these tall frosty mugs in the freezer, and so we
Oh
each
man.
grabbed the tall frosty mug, and we grabbed some orange juice and some cranberry juice, and we sat down on the couch and we started pouring drinks. And I can vividly remember that first big drink that I took off that glass. And believe me, it was a big old drink because I ain't never sipped anything a day in my life. And I can remember that alcohol going down, man, and it burned all the way down. But what I remember the most is when that alcohol hit my stomach, it ignited this thing inside of me, man, that would not be put out for the next 20 years. Probably for the first time in my life, I truly felt okay and comfortable in my own skin. It was the first time in my life that I could, kind of take that breath and be able to move freely about the world. For the first time in my life, I felt like I fit in and that I was connected with something. Um, him and we finished off both of those bottles in 45 minutes that day. And that was my very first experience with alcohol. Obviously, I puked all over the place. Right, I ended up passing halfway out the trailer, halfway in the trailer. Um, but for some reason, when I came to, I decided that it was a good idea for me to walk to school, and so I show up to eighth grade, blackout drunk. For whatever reason, I thought that this was a good idea. Needless to say,
Right.
the school administrators, they didn't think it was too cute.
Oh, I
That
bet
was
not.
that was my first experience in treatment. I was 11
Mm.
years old. I was in eighth grade. That
Wow.
was the first time that I
So
was introduced
young.
to Alcoholics Anonymous. The second time that I was in treatment was the year after I got caught with a little bit of weed in school. And so by the age of 12, 13 years old, I already have two treatment experiences. I'm already introduced to AA. I'm already chasing that feeling every opportunity that I can get. And they say that this is a progressive disease, and in my case that was very true. But what was also true in my case is not only was this disease a progressive one, it was very aggressive for me too.
Yeah.
By 15 I'm a convicted felon. By 16 I'm living on my own. And by 17, I have a kid on the way. And something that I didn't mention earlier, well, I did mention that alcoholism runs pretty deep in my family, my mom, my
Right.
dad, everybody involved. One of the things that kind of shaped my ideals growing up is and no fault to their own. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we're all just humans trying to do the best that
Right.
we can, right?
Absolutely.
And so but one of the things that was important to me is that I I really wanted to be a good role model and a father figure for my children.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like a lot of my childhood, like I kind of made my own way, and at times there wasn't a lot of guidance there. Um, and so when I'm 17 years old and I'm faced with this prospect of having a kid on the way, and I really don't have any kind of life skills, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm scared to death, right? Um, a Navy recruiter called me one day, and I had been going to the vocational school for to be a machinist and everything, and they were offering me some additional schooling to be a machinery repairman, and I just thought that that was the best idea in the
Ooh, feedback there.
world.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Wow, that sucks.
Stuff happens.
Please proceed.
The Navy, the best idea in the world, right? If I could just get away from this crazy life that I'm living, if I could just get away from all of these friends and all of this chaos that I have going on here, I could go to Chicago, Illinois, and I can start my life over and things will be good and I can raise a family there, you know? And so I did. I went to boot camp. I was 17 years old. I showed up in Great Lakes, Illinois. And honestly, I was a little disappointed. Boot camp was really easy for me. Um, Firstly, it was easy for me physically. I had grown up playing football my whole life. I was in pretty good shape. I'm still in shape now. It's just a little rounder than it used to be when I was younger. I'm
Aren't we
putting
all?
on a lot of bit of sober weight here.
A lot of little bit.
A little bit of sober weight here.
I'm with you on that.
But not only was it easy for me physically, boot camp was easy for me mentally too. I don't know. There's just something about me being in a controlled environment. I flourish in those types of environments.
Really?
You put me in jail, you put me in prison, you put me in a detox or a treatment center, you put me in sober living. And when I'm in those types of environments, man, I flourish. Right. So at boot camp, when I have somebody telling me what to do and what to eat and when to do it and how to do it, man, I did really well.
Huh.
It's really kind of when I'm only left to my own devices, do things
You
kind
don't
of just
fight
go,
it, right?
man, it just
When
goes downhill real quick.
mhm, you don't
Um,
fight that thing. It makes it easier.
right. So I get out of boot camp. I go to my schooling, which is also in Great Lakes, Illinois. And, one thing I didn't realize about Chicago is how hospitable the people are,
No, I never been.
especially when you have a Navy uniform on,
Oh.
because everybody and their brother wants to buy you a drink. Thank you
Oh
for your
boy.
service, my friend. And I've always been taught never to refuse hospitality. So I took advantage every opportunity that I got, you know what I mean, for all of that
Right.
hospitality that everybody in Chicago wanted to show me. Needless to say, it was about 8 months later that the United States of America informed me that my services were no longer needed and that I could kindly go back to wherever it is that I came from. And so I did. I showed up back here in Youngstown, Ohio, with all the same problems that I had when I got to Chicago, Illinois, right? And it was probably all the same problems that I had when I drank those 2 bottles of liquor when I was 11 years old. And it was probably all of the same problems that I had when I was in school and I looked at all of you guys and you seemed to be able to get along and be connected. And I always
Yeah.
just felt so alone and separate, you know. And so here I am. And so now, if you could relate with any of the things that I've said so far, I mean, I really don't need to explain like how the next 20 years play out, right?
Right.
The next 20 years is just a vicious wash, rinse, and repeat cycle of me being in and out of treatment centers and detoxes, jails and prisons, wanting to get sober, um, the whole deal. You know,
I hear so many people, like, I even know, some people that I know, um, they go in and out, in and out, in and out. And like, here I am about to be, I'm at my year again, you know, and they're start
Congratulations.
thank you, and they're starting over. It just, sometimes people don't get it. And I think it's the, what do you want out of life? Like, it freaks me out. Like, if I think about drugs or where I've been or what I've done, I'm like, I get terrified. Like, I don't want to go back there. I didn't come this far to just come this far. You know,
Right.
I don't want to go back where I was. I went through a lot of things and I put myself there, and when you finally get out, it's like, I want to stay out. Then some people are just, I don't know. And that's what I'm trying to reach, is this, is it is it rooted through trauma? Is it rooted through mental health? Is, you're not addressing your mental health, and I speak out for mental health. I want, there's just like so much I want to help with, and I'm only one person, and that's why I want us to join forces together with other groups and other people everywhere. I want to go on the fentanyl marches. I want to go, you know, somebody told me the other day, that there's no, I think it was a label for nicotine, or there's no labels for alcohol on the window, but when you go into a store, you see a nicotine sign, it says beware, like, caution, there's nicotine in this. But they don't say beware, there's alcohol in this, or I don't know, he was just saying something like along those lines. But I don't know. I am just very fortunate and blessed to be here today. And I'm very blessed that you're here today.
Mm,
I'm grateful
thank
for you,
you.
Josh. So, I mean, if there's anything you want to say about me?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, like what happened, right? How did I get to where I'm
Yeah.
at today?
How did
You
you?
know, for so much of my life, I lived in all of that. And to be quite honest, I didn't think I was going to get out of it. You know, there was plenty of times where I really questioned if I was ever going to get sober. And I think for me, like the series of events, I mean, I don't know, you talked about like people going in and out of treatment
Yeah.
and starting over on day one, right? And like all of those experiences that you have through all that are not all lost experiences, right? I gained a little
No.
bit. I gained a
Each
little bit
time.
through
Yeah.
through each one of those, right?
Each
um
time.
but I think at the end, when I finally got to the place, man, where I could no longer be happy with or without drugs and alcohol, you know what I mean? And I was too scared to really do anything else about it. Um, I kind of got to like this super hopeless place where I really didn't believe that there was a way out. And I don't know, like maybe I was just beat down enough and maybe I was just defeated enough, that I was finally ready to surrender.
Like, what was your bottom? What was your very bottom? Where were you looking up at from the bottom?
Honestly, like I mean, I'm one of those. I'm one of those addicts, man, that doesn't have a clear bottom. You think about all the different consequences that we have, all the family members that we disappoint, all the legal troubles that
Right.
we get into, right? All the times that we wanted to get sober and wasn't able to, all the times that we questioned whether or not that we were going to get sober, you know, um, how many overdoses um,
You got to
have
think
I
about
been through? you know and really, like, for the most part, a lot of those things uh were things that I mean, honestly, like, I was willing to do, right? Otherwise I wouldn't have done them. Those were all things that I was willing to do because of what drugs and alcohol did for me.
it. Right.
Those were all checks that I was willing to cash. I think, I mean, I really just believe um that my desire to stop using was a gift that was given to me,
Absolutely.
you know.
For me, it was going to jail. It was, I'm over 40 years old. And I said, run this. I was living in a tent under the Summit Bridge, and that was my bottom. That was, I was being abused, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually, everything. And it was just, I'd had enough. That's enough. I don't want to die here. I don't know if I had epiphany. When the cops came, I got in the car willingly, and I said, "Run it. Let's do this. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore." I was a missing person for 3 months with my children in Texas. I'm from Texas. It was just all of these things just added up. Come to find out, my story's not that unique. I've met a lot of fellow addicts, and they're like, "Huh, well, I lived homeless over here and here." It's like sometimes you have to individually go through the things that you go through and get your wake up call. You have to have a good program implemented in place and work it. And you have to work it. Like, it's like it's not gonna just happen overnight either. You got to take one day at a time, and that's what the slogans of the programs are: one day at a time, because that's all you can do. And each and every day builds up to this amazing life. And I can't believe it's already a year again. You know, it's it's just such a blessing to have each and every one of you. And shout out to all the brothers and sisters in AA, NA, CMA, HA. And I'm not trying to push that off, but that's what works for me, and obviously that's what works for you. I hear some people, they don't do a program. They don't, and it whatever works for them. As long as they stay
Yeah,
sober and we stay
absolutely.
sober. We stay sober in unity, whatever's working for you. I am just tired of every single day I hear of someone dying. You know, Bill and Bob out of the big book, they were two people that made a legendary change into a legacy. Why can't it be me and you, or me and you and 50 other people from our groups and things like that, joining together to make a difference in a different modern way, into a different generation, into a different world of where we're going. And that's what I'm trying to implement, is that those people made legends out of what the big book. And I thank God for that. And I don't know. So if you have any brainstorming ideas that we can come up with, please shoot me here.
Yeah. I mean, to go on with what you're saying, even though, like some of our individual circumstances may vary from person to person, I mean, at
Right.
the end of the day, we're all survivors of the same shipwreck.
Yeah.
You know, we all watched our lives burn down to the ground around us. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I know, for me at least, um, I tell you what, you asked me, what my bottom was, right?
Yeah.
And I really don't have an answer for that. But what I can say is that I did have um, a, a bit of good recovery time at one point in my life, and slowly but surely, what was once the center and the focus of my life, the spiritual things that I was doing that helped me to get to where I was at, over time, like that started drifting. After 7 years of sobriety, I found myself sitting at a bar. I wasn't active in the program that I was working. I wasn't helping other people. I wasn't doing any of the things anymore that got me to that point. And after that, I went on. I relapsed and went back out for a little bit over a year probably. And I remember I had lost everything again. I was sleeping in my truck on the side of the road here in Warren, and it was about 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was awoken by a series of taps on my window. And when I opened up my eyes, I see about six of Warren's finest standing outside of my door. And then I
Of
don't know about
course.
you, but I'm a fight or flight kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
But
wanted to jump over the bridge. I know how you feel.
but in that moment, I mean, my
Yeah.
thoughts weren't to run away. My thoughts were of relief.
Yeah.
When I seen those guys standing out there,
Yeah.
I took a breath because I knew, man, thank God this is over. Because I'm not one of those addicts that has a clear bottom. I'm not a guy that gets sober, let alone
Right.
stay sober. And so, like, a lot of people would say, oh, I got arrested on this and day or whatever have you.
Right.
But for me, I didn't get arrested that day. I got rescued.
Right.
And then that's the truth of it. I
We
mean,
don't
and
have to. We get to.
that
You
that's
know.
that was God doing for me what I couldn't do for
Cannot do.
myself. I couldn't get
Absolutely.
sober on my own power whatsoever, and He intervened in my life. And I sat it down for 6 or 7 months. And thank God when I got there, it was a rough couple. It was a rough couple of days, to
I
say,
feel you on that one. I
to
can
say,
relate.
say the least.
I can so relate. And I'm
Uh,
not ashamed of it. I put myself in those places. Like explaining this to outside society is like explaining chemistry to a kindergarten sometimes. Like it's like
um,
kids they don't understand, unless
yeah.
they've had a loved one, or and like I said, I went to a cemetery not too long ago. My sponsor took me to a cemetery. I got out and it was like, how many of these people do you think had some sort of addiction, whether it was eating, uh, drugs, alcohol, sex addiction, whatever it is, coffee, whatever their addiction is, died. And that could be me laying there, and one day it will be. What am I doing with my life? And it was like cinder blocks on my feet. And, but I felt a sense of relief after I went there because it's like, okay, I really do want to live right. I want to live right. I want to do right. I want to be, this proud. I want my children to be proud of me again and love. They love me, obviously. But I want to be the best version of me that I could ever be. And now I've survived all of this. I'm a warrior, and I want to show them that I'm cool. Be all you can be in this life, right? Because time is non-refundable but redeemable. Is all I always say.
um, so what's my life like today?
Yes, what
Right?
is your life?
What's my life like today? So when I was in that jail, I had, one of those moments of clarity. Um, I knew that I needed help. I knew that if I just got back out of jail and if I went back to doing what I was doing, if I went back to the same people that I was around, um, I could probably stay sober for a little bit. But ultimately, just like before, you know what I mean? The day would always come um, where I'd drink again, I'd use again.
Right.
And I knew that. Thank goodness I had some people in my life that were really involved in the recovery community up here in Warren. And I got out and I was out of jail for about a week or two. I made a call. I knew that I needed to go to sober living. Uh, by the way, sober living was like the
Yes.
least dumb idea I've ever had in my whole entire life.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
I talked about being in that controlled environment, and you have a lot of freedom in sober living. I mean, really, you're just living in a house with a bunch of other people who are also in recovery. But being
But
in
with
that
set
environment,
rules.
right? I mean the normal rules, right? The things that you got to clean up after yourself, and you got to make your bed, and you got to go to meetings, and you know what I mean,
But
like
I
all.
bet you still do it though, don't you?
I 100%
I
absolutely
bet you
still do
still
it.
do it though. I guarantee it because I know how that is. It's like the accountability, the structure to get you back into like the right mind frame and clarity. Oh yes, I am all about 100% support all of sober living.
If those were all the things that helped me to get sober in the first place, why in the world would I change doing them now?
Absolutely. Didn't come this far to come this far.
You
Yes, and I
know,
support sober living with all of my heart. I support sober living.
but it was really
Um,
good. Not only did it provide me with the structure and the guidance that I needed to learn how to be able to live life sober for real.
right,
You know what I mean? Because I didn't know how to do any of that.
right,
I didn't really know what life and sobriety looked like.
right.
And so not only did that support and all of those people around me help me to do that. I've met some of the best people I've ever met in my
Yes,
entire
me
life
too.
in
Me
this
too.
recovery community. Honestly, like I didn't know what friends were like.
I know. Me
Because in my
neither.
experience, like the people who were always around me, they were around me because they
They
wanted
wanted it.
something from me.
That's
They
right.
had some kind of angle, they had some kind of ulterior motive while I was in their life. And so when I come to this recovery community, and people are just trying to help me and do for me, like that was something that was really foreign to me. I'm looking and I'm like, man, like what is it that you want from me? You know what I mean? And the truth of the matter is they didn't want anything from me but to see me do good and to be happy. And that's what they wanted from me.
Yes.
They wanted me to succeed. They wanted me to live. You know.
And I know that when I went back around, so I was 11 months sober, 2022, and I was 11 months sober, almost at a year. And like I said, I was a dry sober, wasn't working the program, but I went one time around the wrong people and I took a drink of wine. And they were like, haha, you just relapsed. You just relapsed. And it's like, but they were pushing it on me. It's still my fault that I did it. I could have got up and I could have walked out. I got legs and I got a brain and I got a mind and I built this structure up. And the second I took a drink, I knew I just messed up. And they're like, well, you might as well just smoke this weed. Those are not the kind of people I want to be around. And I do not have in my life. I set them apart and I keep away from them because I learned from them. Like I actually did learn from them. Like I deleted all of the past and I left it there. I can create my own new circle of friends. I can create my own everything. And it's like I'm not starting from scratch. I'm starting from experience, like I see all the time. But I'm starting from experience and now
It's like
structured and courageous and happy, loving, and just a whole new person. And I love it. I love life right now. I love my brothers and sisters. I love the meetings. It's what works for me. And I know it works for a lot of people. If you just give it a chance and let it works. And the 12 steps and 12 traditions work. Like if you want your life back, you can get that.
so that's what I do today. Um, I have a home group commitment today that I meet every week.
Mm-hmm.
I take meetings into treatment centers, and I do that every single week. I share my experience whenever I'm asked to, um, and
I
I
would
do
like
my
to do
best.
that with you.
What's that?
I would love to do an H&I with you. Did it
Oh
not too long
man,
ago, and I absolutely loved it.
it's really kind of been my bread and butter, to be
Yeah,
able to go into those places, and those guys are right in the spot that I was in, what I mean, just a few
right.
24 hours ago, and they really can't see a way out of this or how any of this is going to work. And, you know, by people like you and I going in there and
Right.
you know what I mean, showing them like that's the first little hope shot that those guys get. And I mean that has been,
But you
and
remember what
that
they see because
that
you
has
were there.
been that has been key for me for sure. You know, because not only do you get that experience of going in there and doing that, you end up building real bonds and friendships with these
Yes.
people, and you get the privilege of being able to watch them grow and the lights come back
Flourish.
in their eyes
Yes.
and I
I
mean
love
it's
that.
man it is
Beautiful. It is
awesome.
beautiful. I've seen so many people grow that I'm now doing H&Is with, which is hospital and institutions, if people don't know that, of where we once were in like rehab and things like that. And you go back and you're like, you see the want, and some of them don't want to be there. And then the light bulb comes on and you just see them flourish. And I love it. It's beautiful. It's absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful.
um and so those are definitely the things that I keep first and foremost in my life. I mean, because I've learned from experience, right, that anything that I put in front of my recovery is going to be the first thing that I lose, right,
That's
if I don't
right. I
continue to
love
do
that.
it, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, life isn't just about recovery for me today. Yes, it is a very important part and a very centerpiece of my life. Um, but there's so many other great things that I get to do today. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there's so many interests that I found that I had no idea
Right.
that I liked.
Yes.
For the last couple years, my family and I we went whitewater rafting down in
Oh,
Ohio Pile,
nice.
and man, it
Wow.
is such an amazing experience, and we
Yes.
have so much fun going and doing that. Um, and I
That
really
sounds
love
amazing.
it. It's a lot of fun. And I really enjoy nature in itself. I mean, we went down to Hocking Hills. We like going around Mill Creek Park and hiking.
Yeah.
Just all kinds of things. And probably the best thing out of all of this, um, is that I get to do this with my family today. You know what I mean? Um, I,
God,
I
sobriety, family,
I get to be that positive role model
yes.
in my kid's life today. You know what I mean? I get to be a father and a husband, right? And those were things that I couldn't say before.
Right.
You
And I can
know,
see that you're proud, and I'm proud of you. And I'm proud of each and every one of you listening right now that I'm so proud of you. Keep it up. It's one day at a time, and you make it through today. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. I love you all. So, so proud of you, Josh.
and most importantly, I'm happy today.
That's right. That's what matters.
You know, and if I'm being honest, like that's all that I've ever wanted was to be happy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? To be
Yes.
comfortable in my own skin and to be okay with life and how
Be
it's
who you
going,
are.
right? To be able to have, I mean, because life does still show up, right? But be able
A
to
life on life.
have those things and have those emotions, right? And be able to
Right.
be okay with them and to live, you know.
Life on life's terms. So this is what I say. It's who I was, who I became, who I am, and all this will make me who I will be. I live by it. Now my perception on everything changed. The way you look at things and the things you look at change. The perception of everything in life is just so much more vivid. It's like, oh, okay, I get it now. It's just crazy how that worked out. That, without God, couldn't be possible.
Yeah, for sure. Um,
Um, yes to sober living. Yes to H&Is. Yes to work in a program. You'll have friends that you cannot possibly imagine you thought you would have friends, and they may not all stay in your life, but you will remember them, and you will have brotherhood and sisterhood for life. I guarantee. I know I will. How do you
um,
feel about that?
some of the best friends that I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't even know. I mean, friends. I mean, really. I mean, to me, they're like brothers for
Yes.
real.
Yes.
You know,
Each and every one of you are all my brothers and sisters, and completely different outlook of how I
Mm.
carry myself, how I'm a mother. I want to represent myself as a mother and be that person of stature that I know I can be and will be. That's confidence on her.
Mm.
Be good to people. Be good to other people because you never know what someone else is going through. If they're
Right.
having a bad day, it might not be a you problem. It might be a them problem. But then we got to deal with it the way we deal with it. I
And
really
and
appreciate you.
I think that's the biggest privilege that we have in being in this recovery community is we're in a position to be here for one another. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Because we certainly can't do this by ourselves.
right.
Um, and and so like for me, the prescription is simple. How did I get to where I'm at now, and how do I keep what I got? Trust God, clean house, help others. Simple but effective. And that's what I do.
The how is honesty, open mindedness, willingness, do what it takes to get sober. And I can't stress it enough. Like I just feel like I want to help everybody. But everybody has to help themselves. Unfortunately, we can lead them to the water.
But we get to
We can,
be the example for those people to
that's
look at
right.
to show that these things actually do work. You know what I mean?
Right.
It ain't just somebody sitting there telling you,
Yes.
"Oh, if you do this and that." Like,
Yeah.
you know, my life
Man,
is
chat. I
pretty much.
remember where that dude was. Man, wow, he looks good. I want that.
Yeah, I have
I
a
don't
few
think I
mugshot
have.
pictures.
Oh, I about cry when I look at mine. I'm like, oh, I would not have bailed her out. And I thank God. I used to be like, I want somebody to bail me out. I'm so glad somebody didn't because, like, I needed to go through that. I'm sorry to say that to people that sit in jail and things like that, or uh, it was. I put myself there. I put myself there. I went through the process,
Yeah.
and now I'm fixing it. Are you still there?
I'm here.
Sorry, this thing has a mind of its own sometimes.
Oh, okay.
But, I really appreciate you coming on tonight, and
Yeah, this has been fun for
yes,
sure.
for sure. And like, sometime I think we'll get like a podcast with a few of us on here. It can, we can do like up to 10 people, I believe, and it's really kind of cool. I don't know if you've ever done one of them. It's cross. There is crosstalk. It's a talk show, so it's a podcast. So
Yeah, we'll definitely link up for sure, and we'll do some
for sure.
brainstorming and see what we can come up with. Absolutely.
And if anybody else watching right now, if you have a story that you would like to tell on Sober Patrol Sober Army podcast, I would really love you to join us. Um, this is what I do. This is what I do to stay sober, but it's not a me. It's a I am and we are breaking chains of addiction. And I would like us all to do that in unity, staying sober anywhere in unity. Um, love you all and love you, my brother.
Oh,
So
love
proud
you
of
too,
you
Kat. Thank
and
you. You too.
welcome. And I'm loving life right now. And it's just like every day something better happens. Trust the process, trust God, and it does work. People can change, and it is possible. Recovery is possible if you just
It is
put in
100% possible.
100% possible. And I'm
Mhm.
proud of everyone. So, uh, do you have anything else you would like to share?
I think I'm done for tonight.
All right. Well, I love you, my brother, and very proud of you. Thank you so much for
All
coming
right.
on
Thanks
Sober
again, Kat. I
Patrol.
really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night.